Hey, how's it going? Isn't this just... look at this. Ain't this just the most spectacular setup? It's so cozy. This was my vision at like 12 years old, scrolling through Tumblr and Pinterest, having no money to my name, thinking that one day, as a fresh 12-year-old, that this is the reality that I could live. It took about 10 years, but here I am, living the luxury life. So much that I'm not even wearing pants. Hence why I have the blanket over. No socks either. And no shoes. And you know who else isn't wearing shoes right now? 5 people who are sitting in a submarine at the bottom of the ocean because they all decided let's all pay $250K individually to get a seat in a titanium cone to go to the bottom of the ocean to look at the Titanic through a screen. Not even a window, a screen. So I and millions of other people are up at this late hour of 12:35 a.m. scrolling through TikTok and Twitter under the hashtag and term Titanic, which probably hasn't been trending since Leonardo DiCaprio got his Oscar, to figure out if these 5 millionaires are still alive or not. The latest that I've heard is that the rescue team, there's no rescuing. It's finding and being like, well, there they are. Can't do anything about it. Let's say this, okay? Let's say that they're at the bottom of the ocean. What then? Do you know how deep the bottom of the ocean is? Have you seen that scale video that's everywhere? It's like that one guy who, for some reason, is amongst a group of people who like to give themselves anxiety on purpose. The thrill of not knowing if you're going to come out alive or not. Going through those, like, really tiny cracks and crevices of caves. And just, like, the pressure of feeling your body being just crushed by a bunch of sharp rocks and cave walls. I don't know why people do this. Anyway, what was my point? Speaking of points, I got diagnosed with ADHD today. I didn't need a professional healthcare person to tell me that, because you obviously know. But I'll tell you this. Now I can, like, look at TikToks and, like, stuff and be like, that's me. That's me. I mean, I did that before, too, when I didn't have the diagnosis. I'd look at ADHD TikToks and be like, that's like me. But am I just overthinking it? Like, is this the normal kind of distraction? And then I had my little appointment and he was like, yeah. And I was like, haha. All right, so what now? What was my initial point? Oh, as I'm talking right now, the only news that we've heard about these 5 millionaires in this tube, is that they have heard banging. And they, I mean the rescue team. They've heard banging happening every 30 minutes in the ocean somewhere. Now, by the time you see this, we will already figure out if they are alive or dead. So this is a good sign, right? This is like, oh my god, we found them. Hooray. No. If anything, the fact that we now know that they're probably still alive, it just is a more horrifying thought. I don't know about you, but if I was in that situation, I would prefer to be dead by now than being stuck alive in a tube that is cold and dark, and there is probably vomit and feces in every section because it's been over 48 hours at this point. Delusions. Has the subject of cannibalism come up yet in the group conversation? Can they even speak anymore? Is the English language something that is foreign to them now? We don't know. And we probably will never know because there's no way we're ever going to find them, and they're probably dead. I think the reason that this is so fascinating right now to a bunch of people is because usually stuff like this happens like 20 years ago. Or 30 years ago, things that we hear about in the past, you know? But the fact that right now I'm breathing this luscious air, this air conditioning, I have all this free range of motion, the fact that I can just, like, I'm relaxed and, like, 5 people are submerged in water, rolling around in vomit, and having access to little to no oxygen. I don't know, there's no feeling to describe that kind of, like, oh, damn. But also... That's not me, though. I may be stupid, but I'm not an idiot. Anyway, I was a Titanic girly at the age of 12. That was my disaster hyperfixation. It all started when I was in California. My family and I, we were there for vacation because they wanted to take me to SeaWorld. And that was fun until everyone said it wasn't fun. And then I was like, oh, okay, maybe you're kind of right. It's not fun. But anyway, there was this exhibit, and it was, like, showing all the, stuff that was remaining from the Titanic, and, well, I walked in there, and I have not been the same. sense. It was just kind of one of those surreal experiences where, like, oh my god, all these people died and I'm here. How do I contribute now to a case that has happened 100 years ago? How do I help the people who are still suffering? You're in 6th grade, Asia. The suffering people don't exist anymore. I was fully convinced that because I had such a passionate drive to learn much about the Titanic that I must have been a passenger, and I have been reincarnated to learn about my past life through this exhibit, and this was my destiny. And so when I was doing all this like book reading and watching all these documentaries, this whole submarine to visit and see the Titanic in real life, I wanted to do that. I wanted to be one of the millionaires. Thank God I have no money and no aspiration to do that. I saw somebody tweet that, like, at least, you know, if you're gonna go see the Titanic, you get the full experience going missing and drowning and being rich. People are saying that the most embarrassing part of this entire story is paying $250K to sit in a cartoonish submarine and go to the deepest, darkest parts of the ocean. But I think the most embarrassing part of this is the fact that they are not just dying, but they're dying probably sitting crisscross applesauce, because there's not a lot of legroom there. They can't stand. There's only so many positions you can assume in that environment, and so someone right now, at least one of them, crisscross applesauce, vomit, feces everywhere, hallucinations, all in crisscross applesauce. I remember one time I made a TikTok, and it was like me in like squatting position, like Russian Asian squatting position, sitting on a stool, and saying like that's like my most comfortable position to sit in because I'm Asian. And Dan Povenmire, the co-creator of Phineas and Ferb, said that if you were to sit like that in an animation studio, no one would bat an eye. And I like that inclusivity and acceptance in the animation studios. People who work in animation are like really big children who take financial responsibility and are able to do their taxes and just function, you know? And it's interesting, you know, when you tell people like that you watch cartoons or animation in like in your 20s, and people are like, isn't that a bit childish? It's a bit weird. Who do you think makes the cartoons? Not your little sister in 4th grade, okay? Well, the target, shut up. I want to watch Sophia the First. Let me watch Sophia the First. Who's talking about Sophia the First? Who was having any like recollection of pure memory at the age that Sophia the First was happening enough to talk about Sophia the First? I'm right here. When I was in 6th grade, I stayed home a lot from school because I hated school, and well, there's a lot of stuff that I'm not going to get into. But anyway, I watched a lot of Sophia the First. And my favorite... Do you see how, like, I'm looking around for something? I'm not even looking around for anything. I just kind of want to, like, move... Here we go. Guys, you gotta get a load of this. I want to hear that all the time. Like, I wish that was, like, in my brain. And I didn't have to whip out this snail when I start getting, like, fidgety. Basically, Sophia's mom falls in love with the king. And just by fashion, she marries into the throne, and she's a princess now. But then she has a magical amulet that can help her talk to animals and other creatures, which helps her establish emotional connection and problem solving, because a lot of the problems that she faces in the show, it is miscommunication, because there's a barrier between fantasy and human reality. But sometimes along the way, she doesn't know how to do it. She can usually figure things out, but sometimes she's stuck at a rut. So sometimes, like, the amulet will, like, in, like, a game show where you can, like, phone a friend, they'll do that, but instead they'll, like, physically bring out a person from inside her amulet, and, like, Snow White appears, or Aurora, or, like, Rapunzel, and they're like, "Hi, Sophia," and she's like, "What the heck? Hey, guys, what are you doing here?" And they, like, sing and, like, find the true meaning of friendship. I liked the songs in Sophia the First. That's why I liked it. You know what also I liked? Doc McStuffins. When I had to go get checkups for my scoliosis, Doc McStuffins was always on that TV in that pediatrician's office. The doc was in, and she was here to fix me up. Doc McStuffins is kind of the same thing as Sophia the First, but with stuffed animals, and she treats them when there's something wrong, like they're broken. And Doc, I forgot her name, but Doc has a lot of patience Because some of the toys that come to her, they're like, I don't feel well. Why is this working? Why am I... It's literally the most simplest issues that could be solved so quickly. Like, why is this arm lighter than the other? Because there's no more stuffing in the other arm. But she sits down and she's like, don't worry, I'll fix you. Like, the patience that Doc has with these stupid stuffed animals and these toys that are broken all the time. They're like, oh, I'm not feeling well. Well, probably because your head's ripped off. I'm sorry, I'm getting aggressive. Here's some terms that I think white people need to start saying again. Why I oughta. Like, what you can say, like, why I oughta, and you can even say, like, why I oughta, but there's a very specific, you have to have the motion too. You gotta like roll your sleeve, like as you say why I oughta before you punch someone, and you don't just say that and then hit them, but you roll up the sleeve, why I oughta, and then there's a physical motion that has to pair with the saying in order for it to be what its delivery was meant to be. Gag me with a spoon. What stopped you from that? Oh, gag me with a spoon. I like that one. You've got more problems than Carter has liver pills. I like this one too. It's kind of like when someone is like telling you like, oh, they got a lot of things to eat. You've got more problems than Carter has liver pills. And it's true, because Carter's liver pills, you think it's a lot, and then you think about all the problems that you have, and it's like, okay, maybe it's not that much. Newsflash, buddy. I want that. Like, do you know the serotonin boost I would have if a white person was like, newsflash, buddy? I'd be like, whoa, calm down. But also, say that again. What else? Oh, when you all have like a group dinner and the check comes in and someone says, alright, what's the damage? Like, oh, for Pete's sake. I'm trying to say it as white as possible. It's really hard. For crying out loud. Welp? I love me a good whelp. That can also be used when, like, there's something that happened, you're like, welp? Or, like, a way to excuse yourself from a conversation that is slowing and nearing to the end, like, well, and then, like, you stand up. And what I hope and pray to God is that 4 of the white people that are in that submarine are teaching the one person of color those white people sayings. Do you think one of them's got like a personality trait that everyone finds annoying? Like they breathe too loudly through their nose and one of them strangled the other, like, argh. What have we learned? Me talking about relevant topics that are only popular right in the moment, and when you see it, it's long gone. It's like I'm on a time delay. It's like the audio isn't connecting to the brain, and it's like everything that has already happened. What we've learned is that I'll see you later. Oh God, I gotta make sure that you can't see my ass.
Bye. Bye-bye. Bye.